Alright guys, what is up? There'll be no intro, we're going right into this episode, just for the sake of me hopefully being able to speed up the uploading process afterwards, and getting this video out there. If you guys watching this saw my post on social media yesterday, then you already know what this episode is about. If you are watching and you didn't see one of those posts, yesterday was officially 1 year sober from alcohol for myself. Officially a full year since I've had a drink. It's pretty wild. You know, I remember there was a time where if you would have told me that I would have a year without alcohol, I probably, would have laughed. I wouldn't have believed you. It seemed like a really kind of scary thing at first whenever, whenever you first start getting sober from something, you kind of have the thoughts of like things that you might be missing out on, or you think like the whole rest of your life, you're like, I'm going to miss out on all these things. And, it really can be overwhelming at first. And that's kind of how I thought about it as well. I was, I thought like my quality of life would like go down at first is kind of what I thought, and obviously completely not true. A year later, it's the best decision that I've ever made. I spent yesterday really kind of in my head. I didn't know what to expect yesterday, like whenever, how I would kind of feel about it, if I'd be like excited about it or whatever. Like if I'm being honest, I really was pretty anxious all day yesterday. Didn't have the best day really. Just in my head, I wrote down a couple things. First thing just being day filled with anxiety. And then just kind of remembering, kind of spending the day just remembering who I used to be. The way that my life could have turned out, the person that I could be right now, had I not made the decision to seek out some help and to really put in the effort to get sober. And that's one of the best pieces of advice I ever got at the beginning. Was just that, you'll never get sober until you really want to. It doesn't matter if your whole family wants you to do it. It doesn't matter if you go to meetings or if you go to rehab or whatever it is you have to do. You get arrested, whatever it is that you may have had happen in your life, or it doesn't matter. And until you really want to, you're not going to. I kind of just got to that point in my life where it kind of all just came to a head, and I really just had enough of living the way that I've been living. Spent the day yesterday also kind of just thinking, remembering kind of the wrongs, just the wrongs that I had done to others. Whenever I would get in those times of drinking heavily, and I was really just a whole path of destruction, and you don't realize that until it's all said and done, and you kind of look back over the last couple of weeks or months of your life, and you realize the mess that you've made and the people that you've hurt, and lives damaged, and that really can take a toll on you mentally. And a lot of people tell me, and a lot of people say like, you shouldn't sit around and think about these kinds of things. You look forward, and I am. I felt much better today. I woke up today and actually kind of like a breath of fresh air today. I don't know. I realized I was like kind of disassociated for a lot of the day yesterday. Really not really there mentally, really is in my head. But for myself, I think part of the whole process of like moving on is I really have to kind of live in those feelings and moments of like kind of pain or like self-pity or like whatever that shit may be. Me just feeling, fucking sorry for myself. I don't know. And a lot of people say that's a bad way to be. For myself, I wouldn't let it, it affected me for one day. And, I allowed myself to kind of live in that, to kind of remember those things, to kind of feel that stuff, to just remind myself of how far I've come and what shit would be like if I was to make the mistake to go back to the way that I used to be. So I think that's important. And that's just kind of my way, the way that I work through things. I have to kind of live in that, and I kind of have to feel it. And then I feel like I can kind of like rinse myself free of it after I've really like embraced it and went through it. So that's kind of what I did. That's kind of what I spent all day doing yesterday. I talk a lot about working out and like staying in the gym, and that's been my absolute key factor to staying sober. Because the fact of the matter is, like, without the alcohol, I still have like an addictive personality, and that's probably something I'll always have. So really the last year, just finding something else to become addicted to. Because I can't just shut that off. Like, there's a part of me in like the way my mind ticks, and it's 100 miles an hour, and it's just like, it'll eat at me if I don't tend to it. And so, whenever you're like going through that transformation and kind of transforming yourself and trying to figure out, kind of learn about yourself, and, it's not really about like, complete, you want to make changes, but you're deep down, you are who you are. And I think the big part of getting sober is like becoming okay with yourself. You spend a lot of time hating yourself and hating the things that you've done, and being really uncomfortable with yourself. And so you try to, drastically make all these changes when in reality, you are who you are. You have to kind of learn to, live with what you got. And my point being, sorry, I kind of got off track there. I feel like my point being with the addictive personality is that's not going to go away. I can't just cut that off and act like that's just going to stop being a part of me. No, I have to find other things to get addicted to. I like going on walks, going to the gym. I'm extremely addicted to that. Physical training is huge. I know I talk about it. You guys probably get tired of it. Sorry. But that's what I love to do. That's what I spend a lot of my time doing. If I'm not there, I'm like watching YouTube, always trying to learn more about it. And that's just that addictive personality. Again, it's not going away. I just have to learn how to channel it. The same thing I've, kind of talking about, you have to learn, you spend a lot of time not being okay with who you are. And so that part of like forgiving yourself and learning to be okay with like who you are, that's like a huge step. Like once you can like really sit down and like get comfortable, and that takes time. It just takes time of like becoming better, creating better habits, doing better, mending relationships, getting yourself back in shape mentally. Then you start to become more okay with yourself, and everything starts to get a little bit easier after that. I would say that's a real big thing. Once you learn to be okay with yourself and like kind of learn to forgive yourself, and you're ready to kind of take those steps forward and leave the past in the past. And that's another thing people. I was talking about the anxiety, and then like, I don't have like I have days of depression where like just kind of like randomly wake up and just like fuck, just like one of those like type of moods, but not anything like super bad. I would say definitely more the anxiety is kind of what fucks with me the most. Something I've been able to do the last year again is just realizing like those are things that are kind of a part of me, and like instead of trying to fight them every day and just wearing myself down mentally. Sorry for the camera shaking. Zara's got an itch. Excuse me. Instead of just trying to fight those things and push them down and bury them deep down and not acknowledge them, I've learned to kind of channel those things. Again, something I credit to just like having a clear mind now. You don't realize like the brain fog and like how mentally you are out of it whenever like you're boozing every single day, and the level of like sharpness, like alertness is just being, having that clear mind. Now whenever I'm confronted with like the anxieties, like the days of depression, I'm now able to, I'm in control of my mind, whereas before, like I would let my mind control me and it would do some crazy shit. And now, I finally feel like it's the other way around where I'm in control. So whenever I confront these things, I've now built up kind of enough time. I've now cleared my mind enough. I've now been able to put myself back in charge of myself mentally and like face those things head on. And I think that like early on, I always thought like the anxiety and like the addictive personality, all these things, I think that's like the biggest pill for people to swallow. And it's good that you do it early and realize that like those things like probably aren't just gonna like go away. These are things that you're gonna live with for a really long time. So my point being is like I encourage anyone that can relate to any of that or has struggled with anything like that to stop running. You don't have to run. I encourage you to face it, to go at it head on. It sounds so cliche, and I remember very early on like talking with different people, and like you would hear the most cliche shit and you didn't want to hear it, right? Like no one wants to hear that shit. No one wants to hear you fucking ramble on about how the grass is greener on the other side and all that stuff. But it's true. It's that simple shit that you hear really does stick with you the most. A couple things here to end. I was like thinking back over the last year, and I was like trying to just see what I could realize, like the changes that I've noticed, and then I was gonna give a little update personally about some of the medication that like I was taking at the beginning of this, where I'm at now with medication, like what I think about medication and what it kind of did for me. Again, I am not a doctor. I am only just gonna say what I am doing myself, and that is it. And it is no advice, it is no nothing, it is just some statements I'm gonna put out there. But some things I've noticed, I was looking back physically, a year ago, I was weighing in at like 260 pounds, 265, I was like 255 to 265. Even whenever I was like drinking heavily, I was like still in the gym every day. Like I could still manage to get myself in the gym most of the time. Near the end, I was skipping the gym quite often. So I got up to about 260. A year ago, this morning, I weighed in at 205 pounds, the leanest that I've ever been. Again, this is just random shit I was just trying to think about. Energy being much higher now. I can't even explain the difference in energy. And I would say it took me like probably like 8 to 9 months before I started to actually realize the change in my energy levels and like actually feeling better and feel like sleep was getting better. It was a long time. It wasn't just like a couple months and I started to notice a difference in this shit. It was like just a couple months ago. Like I really started to notice the difference in my energy. And we'll have another episode with Briley where we're going to ask her some stuff too about his kind of maybe some things that she's noticed. I know that we've talked about my energy being much higher. Mentally just feeling stronger. I touched on it earlier about, before where it felt like you let the anxieties and the negative thoughts and stuff, that you let that shit run your mind. Whereas now, it really feels like, now it's me in control. And now whenever I am dealt these things, I can now compartmentalize and I can deal with them individually instead of getting overwhelmed and getting overran and flooded with all different emotions, getting frustrated and then wanting to resort back to old ways and like the whole spiral effect. And now whenever I'm faced with that, I can stop. I can look at things one at a time. I can deal with them. Sometimes I still get a little overwhelmed and I just have to kind of remove myself and like clear my mind. But for the most part now, whenever those kinds of things happen, I like I said, I can slow it down, deal with that stuff one at a time, and not stop myself before that spiral effect ever even happens. And sorry, I had something else I was going to add to that, and I was just thinking about it a minute ago, and I lost my train of thought. But I wrote down the anxious days of depression. I went over that. The medication, I'll go ahead and get to that because that's what I thought was kind of interesting. I wanted to share a story about the first time I ever went and got put on anxiety medication, and it was just Lexapro, and had a terrible experience with that, by the way, physically, if you know what I mean. Private areas not working properly at all, extremely tired, kind of depressed. I wasn't like near as anxious, but I was just like kind of zombified, I felt like, on the Lexapro. Didn't like that. But I found it interesting because whenever I went and I spoke with my doctor for the first time about it, she made the comment, and this is not a shot at her, because for a lot of people it's true, but I don't think it has to be. She said that, just so you know, once you start this is, something like you'll probably have to take a pill for the rest of your life once you start this. And at the time, I was like, just going through it fucking mentally, so I was like, yeah, that's fine, I don't care. Like, I'll take a pill for the rest of my life, that's fine. And so I went through that, and then I got off of that, and then I started Wellbutrin, and then I started a fixer with that. And then I was taking Atarax kind of on the side, just like as needed. Now, a year later, without the booze, again, back in shape, my diet's pretty on point. Doing all the little things. Again, no more Lexapro, no fixer, I've been down to Wellbutrin just like almost like once a week, and possibly looking at weaning off of it completely. So if that's the case, that will be all medications wiped off the table. I'm not recommending that you go stop taking your medication. Do not do that, okay? Do not do that. That is not what I'm saying. I am only stating that I think medication should be looked at a little more temporarily while making lifestyle choices to better your life. And then possibly, and again, This is not, do not stop taking your medication. That's not what I'm saying. I'm only saying that I kind of just had a personal thought to myself that I was starting to feel better. And I know people start to feel better, then they want to get off their meds, and it's a bad thing to do. And but I do think once you start to make these lifestyle choices, I do think there are cases where you can start to wean yourself off these things. You start to learn how to deal with these things. And I think that you're just a lot stronger mentally. And I'm only saying this because I feel like it's what I'm kind of experiencing right now, is like you're so much stronger mentally and than you realize. And once you kind of get over that hill and that realization starts to set in that like, well, like I really am in charge, like I don't know, I kind of like took it personal a little bit. I was like, like I don't want to have to like take a pill for the rest of my life if I don't have to. I want to get myself so right mentally that like I don't have to. That was like kind of my goal. Okay, that's like, I guess that would be my goal. Like I was like, I wanted to get to the point where I was like, I don't need that anymore, because like I got this shit. That was kind of my attitude about it. Also, still no TRT. I've been off TRT I think since like September. Feeling really good actually. Pretty surprised. Hopefully be going to get my blood work done soon. Get some level. I like to see where I'm at. Get my blood work done. See what my numbers look like, and give an update on that as well, and kind of see how much I came down and if I've rebounded at all. So that'll be interesting. Again, just want to reiterate, I'm not a doctor. Do not stop with your medication. That was just a personal decision that I made, one that I talked through with Briley. I told her like I didn't want to be on medication forever, and she kind of understood where I was coming from. She was a little leery about it at first, of course, like, anyone would be. I will say, I'll tell on myself the kind of how the reason with I stopped taking one, prescription ran out. It was like a holiday weekend, so I went like 4 days without it, and then I ended up, after like the fourth day without it, it was like going to get it refilled, and I was like, it's been 4 days and I don't even realize that I haven't been taking it. It's like I just waited a couple more days, and then next thing I know, it'd been like weeks, and I was just like, hadn't even realized I wasn't taking it, so just threw it away. I was done with it. Again, not promoting that. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. It's irresponsible. I shouldn't have done it like that. But I just thought, I just thought it was interesting. I didn't know, I wondered if like other people had success with that. I know people, I know they talked about whenever men, they start TRT, they see a lot of men that come off of their SSRIs and are able to stop those. So I thought that was interesting. That I kind of feel that, and I kind of believe in that. I think once you kind of get your hormones and make those lifestyle choices, I think maybe we should look at medication just a little more temporarily than kind of how we look at it. And that's just a personal opinion with nothing to back that up. That is just how I feel about it. So I need to take a minute to just say thank you to all of the comments, the messages, the words of encouragement, the everything in between. There is a ton of people that reached out regarding my posts and had nothing but great things to say and have been supportive, and I cannot be more thankful for that. you know, words like that for someone like me maybe like seem so little to you. But whenever I read those things, they stick with me, and I think about them. And whenever I'm doing things like this, and you know, there's days where like you know, there's days like, what am I doing? Like, am I wasting time? And then I read stuff like that, and I see people, you know, encouraging me to keep going. And I just can't say thank you enough to that. I can't say thank you enough to my parents that I know I put through hell for a very long time. Mom and Dad, I'm sorry. I love you guys. To my sisters, they, through the years, watched me at my highs and watched me at my lows, and still love me unconditionally, and have always been there for me and always had my back. Thank you to them. I love you guys as well. And to my wife, Briley, who has had to endure just as much of this as me, if not more. She has stuck by my side relentlessly. You know, she has just continued time and time again to believe in me and to continue to push me. And you know, there's a lot of days that without her being there, I don't know if I would have made it through, and I don't know if we would have saw the 1 year mark. And I know that's a lot of pressure, and I don't mean to put all that on you, honey, but it, you know, without you, you know, who knows where we'd be at today. So thank you. I love you. And to everyone else that's been watching, that's been encouraging, that's been had nothing but nice things to say, thank you. I love you. I appreciate it. We see the comments, the nice things. We look at them. They stick with us. We think about them. If you guys see this video and you feel inclined to please share it on your socials. Not for me, but for maybe somebody else out there that needs to hear it, or needs to see that maybe if you're at that day one mark, I've been there, and it looks so far away, and it I almost made it. I know what that's like. It seems really far away, but you know, the hardest days are absolutely nothing compared to my best days now. And the bad days are few and far between. A lot more good days now. And that's because of the support system that I have around me and the beautiful people that I have around me. And so if you're at that day one mark, hopefully I will see you 12 months from now, and maybe you'll be making a video similar to this one, and encouraging the next person behind you that needs to hear it. So if you guys are watching this, if you guys see it, give it a like, hit subscribe on the channel while you're there, leave a comment if you feel moved to do so. And again, like I said, share the video if you don't mind. Again, not for me, but maybe for someone else that needs to hear it. So thank you, and we will see you guys at the next one.